The Chicago Bulls got themselves a win last night. And one of the things that happened, Zach Lavine had himself a game. And now it's talk. And y'all know we talking about it. His trade value is on the rise. But on today's episode, I'm here to talk to you guys and let you know that the Chicago Bulls should have some patience when it comes to exploring trading Zach Lavine. Y'all know we're going to talk about it and break it all down. But you know, you got to hear the music first.
Cognac, gang.
Shy Boys Podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. If you're tuned in for the first time, welcome in. Hit that like button and subscribe. And to my family members, welcome back to another episode to the show. Now, last night, if you was there, we held a live call and got an opportunity to see the Chicago Bulls go up and perform well against the New York Knicks, then damn near blow the game, but ultimately did some things to end the game and come out with a victory out of Madison Square Garden. And my man Zach Lavine last night, he dropped 31, 7, and 8 with an explosive second quarter. And that's why we talking about him today, because there was a proposed trade that came out from Bleacher Report that had the Chicago Bulls again getting in the trade business with the Orlando Magic. The proposed trade would send from the Chicago Bulls Zach Lavine and Torrey Craig down to the Orlando Magic. In return, the Chicago Bulls would get Jonathan Isaac, Cole Anthony, and Tristan Da Silva, and a first-round pick that is top 5 protected through 2027. Now, I keep it real with y'all. The trade is okay. It ain't nothing that's going to move me a lot right now. I'm not even going to lie to you in front and act like this is it. When we talk about the trade, it's something that you definitely might consider. But some of the questions that I might have is, this pick is top 5 protected? And they was, do we expect them to be picking in the top 5 anytime soon? Or this was said that maybe one of their first round picks that they have from Denver is something that they can entertain and try to get the Chicago Bulls to bite on as well. But still, do we expect Denver or that pick for any of these teams to be in the top 5? I don't know. So I don't know if I'm too moved by that. Now, top 10 protected, you might be able to get in there a little bit more. Give yourself an opportunity, give yourself a greater chance to accumulate that pick before 2027 when those picks turn into 2 second rounders. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we'll see. And then when we talk about the players, we're talking about Cole Anthony. Look, I'm not saying he's a terrible player, but I never really kind of been a fan of him. And with all the guards on the squad, me personally, he would not be somebody that I will be interested in developing a little bit more for my Chicago Bulls. The Bulls front office could very well feel that way, that they want to explore that option. But for me, I'd rather entertain some different type of talent. Now, when you come to Jonathan Isaac, I love this player. Well, I wouldn't say love. I say I like this player a lot. Solid defender, probably one of the better ones in the league. Come in, big power forward, can give you a little bit of everything that you need. So it's not a huge drop-off from the talent between Isaac and Zach Lavine. So there is a gap. But it's not super wide like if you was comparing Zach Lavine to Cole Anthony or the next player, Tristan Da Silva. Tristan Da Silva is not a very productive player in my eyes. He might be all right. He might not be terrible. But it's just those Cole Anthony and Tristan Da Silva, it's just not prospects that I'm that interested in, you know? So that's just what I'm looking at for that. But so I kind of move on from that if I'm asking myself. I think there could be other options out there for the Chicago Bulls. And that's what I'm saying. The Chicago Bulls should have some patience. Allow this Chicago Bulls team to kind of maneuver and work themselves up to how they want to work themselves up to finally come into what they want their future to look like. I think right now, with only playing about 12 games on the season, it's too early to determine that. We know that Zach Lavine has to be here until a better deal comes across the table. For however long that is, I say you got to have some patience, because if I'm being honest, this is not a trade that I'm willing to make right now. If I'm the Chicago Bulls, I've already made the Orlando Magic better. Do I want to help them get better again? That's not a move I'm willing to make. I'm not even going to lie to you. And that's probably me being a YouTube GM, being extra petty. That's just sometimes how it is. But it do sound crazy. It does sound crazy. But that's just what it is. I'm not at that position to where I'm willing to do business with the Orlando Magic for one of the better players and potentially just a draft pick. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be tough to get. Something that's not really moving me at this particular moment. And when we talk about these three players compared to Zach Lavine is having a hell of a season right now. He's not taking away from any of these young players. And I'm not saying Zach Lavine has to stick around for the rest of his contract, but I'm just saying a little patience could play a big part in this. We seen with the Orlando Magic that Paolo went down. That could be potentially other players that go down around the league, and you probably can get yourself a better deal, one that makes more sense for you. You know what I mean? Because when we go back and look at the Jonathan Isaac again, do the Chicago Bulls want him to kind of fill in behind Patrick Williams, or is he going to take over for Patrick Williams? How do you view that? Or Montes Buzelis? Do you still entertain that to try to maybe, you know, bring in some more competition? But how would that affect the growth of a Montes Buzelis? So it's a lot of things. It's not a terrible trade. It's just one that's very, very interesting. But yeah. And my man Zach Lavine, again, this season, 23, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on 52% shooting from the field and 42% from the three, and not taking anything else from others. And has been playing solid basketball. He still got them bonehead end of the game, dumbass IQ plays that he makes. But for the most part, I've been liking what I've been seeing. He's been defending. Last night he defended Jalen Brunson. I'm just saying it was he took on the challenge. You got to commend the guy for that. Wasn't always the best, but it wasn't always the worst either. You got to give credit when credit is due. And then he came out in that second quarter and put on a show. So, hey, that's what it is. That's what it really comes down to, man. And I do understand that there are risks. You know, if you hold on to him, you are risking, knock on wood, injuries for Zach Lavine himself, and then you plummet the trade value again. You know what I mean? So there are some risks that are involved in this equation. And then if you move too soon, you could potentially mess up another type of deal that might benefit you a little bit more. Maybe a team that is willing to push all the chips in the center of the table and say, hey, we going after it. Here's a number of picks along with some players. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you find yourself in a position to where the Chicago Bulls have some type of leverage because of other injuries around the league. It can go either way. But I do just hope that the Chicago Bulls do what's best for the squad, whether that's deciding to keep them here until the trade deadline or move off of them, say in the next few weeks. Just make sure it's what's best for the Chicago Bulls. You know what I'm saying? And we still don't know where Zach Lavine sits with this. We don't know if he's changed his mind. We don't know if he still wants to go. But what I can say is that he's been being a professional. Honestly, I've been seeing some leadership out of Zach Lavine. You know what I'm saying? And he's kind of been like that stabilizer for the Chicago Bulls. Surprisingly, him and Nikola Vucevic, both of those guys have been kind of like the stabilizers for the Chicago Bulls. When the Bulls need a bucket, they either feed Vooch in a post, where he's been efficient as shit this season. Now, God didn't expect that. He's been efficient as shit this season. And they've been able to rely on him. And when the Bulls need some type of explosiveness in their offense, they need some type of guidance, before it's too late in the game, they can depend on Zach Lavine. Now, when you get in the end of the game, towards those last few minutes, you might have to, tell Zach Lavine to share the ball a little bit, because I don't know what happens to the man dribbling ability in the end of games. It just gets so loose, so fragile, and it's able to easily to pick apart. But those two guys have been stabilizers for the Chicago Bulls. And I say that you move strategically. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's in a couple weeks or if you're waiting a little bit longer, move strategically on how you approach this, because you don't want to come into another situation where you're trading away one of your most valuable players straight up for a player that you have questions about. And that example is Alex Caruso and Josh Giddey. Now, don't get me wrong. Josh Giddey has played well, but he still has the rest of the season to go. He could very well turn into dumpster shit. That's just what it is. He could very well turn into that. And I'm going to give him some credit for where he's at, and where he's been playing so far this season, but it's not been perfect. It has been decent, though. Not going to hold you. He can definitely be better on the defensive end, hence why we haven't seen the man close the last few games. He's not out there for defensive purposes, or because he's being seen as a liability. He's being seen as a liability when it's time to close out games. So Josh Giddey still got some things he needs to improve in, some things he needs to work on. And we already mentioned the stats that say that with him, the Chicago Bulls are worse. Are worse. They saying without the man that they can win 40 games. With them only 17. My goodness. I still got him at 30 wins though, but that's just the point. Like we gotta solidify ourselves, and as of right now, the Bulls, they've been playing competitive basketball. It get us to throw our hats, it get us to pound the table and ask Billy Donovan, why would you do this rotation at this particular moment in the game? Billy Donovan, we are up by 22. The lead is down to 10. What are we doing? We've done all that. But what we can say is what my man's Big Kev been saying all along. This team is going to be fun bad. They're going to be in some games. They're going to compete. They're going to get us hyped, and they're going to tick us off too. And I still want to see a little bit more. Call me crazy, but I still want to see a little bit more of this team before they say, all right, that's it. We finna just go completely young, and then we get a bunch of knuckleheads in here that we got to get right. And then, you know what I'm saying, we sitting here and we in a chat and we are locked in arms and we cussing out all the bad young players that's on the squad. Me, I like where we at. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like in that crossroad. I'll keep it a buck with y'all. We still kind of in that crossroad. We still looking at ourselves in the mirror like, damn, did we really pick a direction? But I've been good right now. I'm not going to hold you. I've been liking what I've personally been seeing out of young players. Julian Phillips on most nights. Dalen Terry, he's been consistent. P. Will is starting to be aggressive these last few games. Can he continue to do that? Nikola Vucevic has been consistent. Zach Lavine consistent. Kobe White needs to get that shit under control. Ayo Dosunmu has been holding himself accountable and been definitely establishing himself and becoming that more consistent player that we seen towards the end of last season. He's bringing that back. And we know that as the season goes on, if you look at his stats, he typically gets better as the season goes on. I think he's starting to hit his stride. So I kind of want to continue to see this version of the team. I do. It's probably a little crazy. I do understand that there's going to be some pushback because people are saying this is not a championship contender. You should be doing anything to become a contender. Yeah, I agree with you. We should be trying to do things to become a contender. But how many draft picks the Detroit Pistons have had in the last few years, the last decades, and still no championships. So obviously there has to be a plan, but you have to, take your chances and try to strike gold. And I don't think it's always I don't necessarily think every team has to do it one way. The Chicago Bulls could do it their way. And we'll see if it works. If not, we'll be like, all right, I guess, because we've seen examples to where teams like the Houston Rockets, they was able to make a couple moves, and now they look like they on the rise. They making their way up. Detroit Pistons, they still stuck in mud. that's how I look at it. But I say the Bulls should have a little bit more patience, and then we'll see what happens from here. Because Zach Lavine been balling. He just got to tighten up on the in-game stuff, boy. Tighten it up. Get that together. But that is it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. If you want to call in and be a part of our mailbag episodes, call in, state your name, leave your tape. The number to do so is 773-242-9219. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Always see red, and y'all already know. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. For sure.
Cognac. Gang.